It doesn't matter what you went through. What matters is that you got through. See, whatever you went through tried to hide that smile, but your smile served as a stamp of victory. Claim yours today, because whatever you're going through, it's only to show you how tough you are. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. So if you're listening to this, I'm talking to you. Let's go.
What's going on, great people? It's the homie, the one and only Ashton Room. So do you hear that beat right there? You already know what that means. That signals another new episode of the Be the Change podcast, great people. And without further ado, I introduce to you, before we get to the interview, the one and only Mariette Jansen. See, I told y'all I was international, so what I did was took the conversation over to the UK virtually, and we had a candid conversation about one thing inside of this world that people deal with without them knowing that they're dealing with it, and that's narcissism. See, Mariette is a narcissistic relationship expert, and she became an expert because she was able to overcome a narcissistic relationship. Now, in this interview, you will hear what relationship she was in that she overcame, her purpose, and much, much more. So with that said, great people, y'all sit back, y'all relax, and y'all enjoy this conversation right here. I've talked to her 2 times prior to, and we definitely got something in the works that's definitely going to bring more attention to narcissism, so we can make sure that people who are in those types of relationships can break free and be who they are supposed to be. Not a victim, but a victim. So here we go, great people. You're in for another great interview. Let's go. Bring the beat in. Thank you. What's going on, great people? It is I, the homie, the one and only Ashton Reynolds, and I welcome you to another episode of the Be the Change podcast, where I converse with individuals who have made change by being the change themselves, and that change could have taken place in their personal life, their family's life, community, or work field. Either way, change is made, displayed, obtained, maintained, and sustained. And my guest for today, I'm so excited about this one, y'all. I know y'all see the smile on my face because this woman right here is the embodiment of strength, perseverance, and turning your pain into purpose, because one of her books that she's written is that self-explanatory, From Victim to Victor. This woman right here is not just any woman, but an incredible, extraordinary woman who is a doctor, a life coach, and a narcissistic relationship expert. Now, people, you're in for a treat now. I know the new year's around the corner. Everybody want to turn over a new leaf, but listen, if you're trying to do some self-introspective thinking and some self-improvement, this is definitely the interview for you. And I'm not going to hold it up with a prolonged introduction because I can't wait for you to hear what she has to present to you today. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the incredible, the one and only Dr. Mariette Jansen. How you doing?
I love that intro, Ashton.
Yes.
It's so good to talk to you because you sent me an email more than a year ago. And I sent something back saying, I would be interested. And then I totally forgot everything about it. But then I went through my emails a few weeks ago and I thought, and I went back to you and apologized and said, I didn't go back properly because I was snowed under. Are you still interested in talking to me? And you said yes.
And it's funny that you did it like that because that's exactly how I was. I was like, yes. Because I love to brag to my listeners and viewers that I am an international host. So let the people know exactly where you were from. Where are you from? Where you are?
I am from, look at the tulips behind me. The tulips are from the Netherlands, like me. But I am living in the UK for more than 20 years now. So just outside London. So, I'm representing a bit of the Netherlands and a bit of the UK. So that is international, isn't it?
See, I told you. Oh, I'm so excited for this interview. So what we're going to do is jump right into it. Okay?
Yeah.
So the very first question that I love to ask my guests is one that only you can answer yourself, because it set the foundation for the work that you do. So despite all of the accolades, the accomplishments, and all of the work, who, in your own words, is Mariette Jansen?
Well, she used to be a victim. She is a victor now. And apart from that, I'm a fighter. I don't like to give up. I always keep going. Which in parts of my life works really, really well. In another part was a disaster. I'll come later. I'll come to that. Now I'm just a woman, a mother, a wife who is happy in her own skin, who tries to live authentically. I only do things that I believe in, and I only do things I want to do. And it gives me so much space to sort of be really focused on what I want to do as well. So I think that's the most about me. That's it. I like color, by the way. This is yellow. I like my reds. I like my blues. And in the past, I used to wear a lot of black and gray.
Oh, wow.
So I would say the change in clothes is also a representation of how my life has changed.
That is amazing. And that's something that my mother always talked about too, like the brightness and the colors, and how the colors really reflect your personality and a multitude of things. But one thing that you have alluded to is how you are now a victor and no longer a victim.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that right there. The floor is yours to tell your story and let people know how you became a victor.
Okay. The most influential person in my life is and was, she's not alive anymore, but is and was my mother. And for a lot of people, that is, a lot of people love their mother, are inspired by their mothers, seeing them as an example or as a sounding board, or have a really good relationship. Mine was the opposite. My mother was a narcissist, and that means that actually it was impossible to have a relationship with her. And as I said, I'm a fighter, I'm a terrier. I tried most of my life to build a relationship with her until I reached that moment that I just knew it is never, ever going to happen. And that's when I could sort of close off from her, push her out of my life, and become the person I am now.
Wow. It's so amazing that you shared that, and I'm so thankful that you shared that, because you're right. Most people's parents are some of the most influential people in their life, and for that to have transpired in your life where the relationship was one that you really had to fight for and you experienced narcissism, that right there in itself is like, oh my gosh. What were some ways that you were able to realize that you was dealing with a narcissist? Because some people think they are, but they're not.
I was about 50 when I realized what was really going on with my mother. Now, narcissistic personality disorder is a spectrum. So there are people who are just at the start of the spectrum and people who are being the full-blown narcissist. My mother was a full-blown narcissist. And a narcissist lives their lives for themselves. So as a mother, she didn't care for her children. I don't think she ever changed a nappy. My father was a dentist and he worked from home. And he did a lot of the childcare. I honestly don't think my mother ever changed a nappy, because you get dirty hands and it's not glamorous. Yeah. And it's work that can be done by other people. So for for narcissists, it's only about them. They don't care about other people. And as a child, you need some love and you need some care. Even the basic care is important. My mother couldn't give that. So luckily my father was there to take over. Other things about a narcissist is, yes, the world evolves around them. So everything always comes back to them. Any party was always about her. It was never for the children. It needed to be done in a way that she could shine and that she was the queen of the party. Yeah. So when it then came, for instance, if there was a birthday cake, then she would pretend that she made it, and then she would talk about the birthday cake. And children who wanted to grab that cake, we're not allowed to do that because we first had to sort of admire her for what she hadn't done but pretended to have done. So it's and then they lie, they twist, this is narcissists, yeah, and narcissistic parents. They lie, they twist because they want to have their way, always. They're also always right. So if you stand up to your narcissistic parent, it's not accepted. It's sort of you are being shut off and saying, no, what you're saying is absolute nonsense. Your mother is right. And what was the other thing? There's no empathy, the lying, the twisting, and they are entitled. Because they are so special, it's expected from everyone around them to run their errands. So I had 2 siblings and my father and me. We were supposed to run around her and almost like serve her.
Wow.
Weird, yeah. I know, yeah.
That's a lot to take in right there. And for the viewers and listeners, I know they're just like me right now, just doing some thinking like, have I ever ran across a narcissist, or am I dealing with a narcissist? What are some signs and examples that you would like to give to, just be like, you need to look out for this?
Yeah, when you are susceptible to the behavior of a narcissist, that means you open yourself up for the abuse. Yeah. So someone throws something at you, you open yourself up and bang, it comes in and it hurts and it's very uncomfortable. There are people around who close themselves off instinctively, so they get nasty remarks or put downs from someone. They go straight over their head and they don't care. They are the lucky ones when it comes to meeting a narcissist. But when people are empathic, they naturally try to understand the other person, and they are naturally willing to look into themselves. Where did I go wrong? So if they get a nasty remark from a narcissist, well, that was really stupid, wasn't it? The empathic people will immediately look inside and think like, oh, was it really stupid? They're questioning themselves. And not because they don't have confidence, but they are willing to look into themselves to see if the other party gets it right. Yeah, we are not always right. A narcissist is always right, but we are not always right. But that's one of the things. So not everyone is susceptible to that abuse, and that abuse only takes place. It is really there once someone opens up to it and then makes it happen. So something comes your way, you say yes, you embrace it, and you go and look into it, and you take it as the truth, and then you go back and you feel uneasy, and you don't feel at uneasy with that person. I think a bit uncomfortable, never knowing what is coming your way, because before you know that, bang, there might be another nasty remark. This is what narcissists do, because they always have to be the best. They always have to be top dog. They do that by putting other people down. Mm-hmm. And if you put someone down, then automatically you become higher up in the sequence. That's one of the things. The other thing is that narcissists do, they control and manipulate because they want other people to run their errands, behave the way they want to do it. And when you make someone insecure, by putting them down, they're much easier to control. Yeah, because, and that's again the empath who think, oh, did I do it wrong? Is that really? Could I do something differently? Which is coming from a place of love and coming from a place of wanting to be a kind person.
Right.
Those are the people that are loved by a narcissist, because it means they can manipulate them, you know, because it's a successful manipulation, and they love it. They love it.
I can only imagine the emotional cycle that you go through if you're dealing with a narcissist, because it's like, okay, it seems like there's some extremes that takes place. Like they go from, oh, lovey-dovey, and then boom, now I got to hit you with the hammer. Am I correct in saying that?
You got it spot on. So narcissists they wear a mask to the outside world. Yeah. And people think, they're the party, the soul, the heart and soul of the party, and they buy people drinks, and they're always laughing, and they make the jokes, and they're charming, and this and that. Oh, they're really, really nice. Behind closed doors, they behave very, very differently. Now, if you live as a narcissist and you see that, and you then want to talk to your friend and say, oh, let me talk to my friend, let me talk about this difficult relationship. The friend only sees your narcissist in their charming role. So they will look at you and say like, he's so lovely. You must be mental. You don't see this right, do you? Because they don't see that other side. And it's so difficult to understand a narcissist and the behavior if you tell the stories as a victim. For instance, if you have something that that you really love, then your narcissist will do anything and everything to spoil it for you. Sounds horrible, but if I had a very special party to go to, my mother never gave me any money to buy a dress or anything like that. She always chose a dress that was hers. And if I liked it or not, it didn't matter. But if I wanted to go to the party, I needed to wear that dress. Now, can you imagine for a girl how horrible that is? You know, not even having your own choice of dress, but something you are really not feeling comfortable in. So that was one of her ways of spoiling it. Another way of spoiling things is that, you know, if I was going to do something and there was money involved, then she would find a way of withholding my pocket money because I hadn't been doing this, that, or the other for her. And if you have no money, you can't go, can you? So so I had learned over time to not tell her what I really, really liked, because I knew she would try to spoil it for me. The number of clothes that I wear clothes again, but you know what I really like. If I had a favorite piece of clothes, it always went wrong in the washing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
What? It really is.
And how can you put your finger on it? You can say, I could say to my mother, oh, this is. I can't help it. I do so much domestic chores. Well, you know, it can go wrong one day. So you can't really, it didn't give the scope to say, you did this, you did it again, you did it again, you did it again. And I couldn't see any of it. I only knew that the relationship with my mother did not work. So when I started to have my own income and I didn't live at home anymore, I started to have therapy. And the first thing that came up in all my therapy sessions, with different therapists, but it was like your mother, the relationship with your mother. And the conventional therapies that I followed were all focused on repairing the relationship. Now I understand I can't even have a relationship with a narcissist because they're not emotional aware. It's not about balance, it's about them abusing me. That's the relationship that they are aiming for, but that's not a relationship that I would consider a healthy relationship. I think a relationship, there should be balance. You operate from the same level. You have the same intentions. You want to achieve the same thing.
Right.
So that was what the therapist was saying. You have to repair the relationship. You have to try to make it balanced and come together. And that's what I did for over 30 years, with a therapist in the background shouting at me, not shouting, but telling me what would be a good thing to do. And then, I would invite my mother for a dinner. We would have a conversation. I sometimes, and this is what you're referring to, the sort of when it seems to go all right, sometimes she seems to really understand what I was telling her. And she seemed really to be willing to sort of do her best and, or play her part, shall we say. And then immediately, very shortly after that, it went totally pear-shaped. And for instance, one of the things what goes pear-shaped is they manipulate and twist the truth. So if I had a conversation with my mother and I spoke openly about, what I really wanted and how she had hurt me, and she seemed to understand. And she then said, oh, maybe I can sort of change my behavior. And then a few weeks later, I would say to her, but what you are doing now is you said you were going to change that. And to say, I never said that. I've got no idea what you're talking about. God, you're hysterical. You can never recall rightly what we have been talking about. And it's called gaslighting as well. There's a word for it, isn't it? When the narcissist or anyone else tries to make you doubt your own reality. When you're 100% sure that this has happened, and someone says to you, no, you are the silly one. You are the one who doesn't have a memory. You are the one who's hysterical. You got it totally wrong. Which then is like, again, an empath will think, is willing to question themselves, saying, was it really wrong? So what I do, Ashton, if people come to me because I work as a life coach, there's a lot of people who are dealing with emotional abuse and gaslighting. I say to people, and this is a tip straight away here, write down literally the things that happen. Yeah. So if you are out with someone and there is an incident and you think this person said that person said that, and you can recall it, immediately write it down with a date and where it happened. Like if you are challenged a few weeks later that hadn't happened, you can look in your notes and you can think like, that did happen. I was right. There's no reason for me to doubt myself here. I have documented what happened. I read it back. I know that this is the truth.
That is an amazing tip right there, because I know that will help relieve the mind of individuals who are trying to have open dialogue with someone who is a narcissist, because you don't want to think that you're crazy and for a fact that this is what you're seeing, and for you to have survived something like that with someone that has brought you into this world, and my condolences on your loss, but for you to go through that with someone who has brought you into this world, and you said it took you a long while to recognize what the problem was. And the doctor was saying, well, you fixed the problem, but they fully can't understand what it is that you're going through. This is the reason why I wanted this interview so bad, because look, you're smiling like you have a family. You are helping others. I say all of that to ask you this question here. At what point did you realize that no more am I a victim, but now I'm going to turn into a victor by realizing that helping and overcoming narcissism, I can help others do that same thing?
That was only a few years ago. I cut my mother out of my life when I was 58. By then she was in her 80s. And I just couldn't be in contact with this woman anymore. She was so toxic. She was always upsetting me. I didn't want to have my children contact with her. And also, what my children have given me is like an experience of how family life can be. I never wanted children because it was never fun. Being in a family was never fun. Then I met my English husband, and the hormones kicked in, and there was this sort of, I want to have a baby. And my husband said, he wasn't my husband then, but he said, but you never wanted children. I said, I know, but there was this urge. And then 2 years later, I said to him, I want another baby. And he said, but you only wanted one. I said, I know. But, number 2 arrived. So I've got 2 beautiful boys. And we as a family unit it's so exciting. It's so much fun that, the boys come back from uni. They're at uni now. And they say they enjoy being at home. And I'm listening to that and say, I can't believe it. And we are having a meal together and we're just laughing and having banter. And I'm sitting there, sometimes I just step back and I look at it and say, I can't believe how much fun we are having and how much trust is in our little family unit. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so grateful for that experience. Yeah. So that was all building. And my mother, with her toxic influence, it was not good. I didn't want it. I didn't want her in me, and I didn't want her in the life of all my boys. And there was no point anymore because I had lost hope. What kept me going for all those decades was that I was hoping she would see it, hoping we could change a corner, hoping we could make it different, the relationship. And that's what kept me working as well. Yeah, I'll try another thing. Yeah. I'm not giving up.
Right.
Had I known that my mother suffered from narcissistic personality disorder, I would have come to the same conclusion much earlier. It would have caused me less pain in my life and in the life of my boys, because it's quite upsetting, when the whole family is upset about that one person. And that's why I have made it my mission to inform people about narcissism, because it's so difficult to recognize. And when you are on the victim side, it's so difficult to find people to talk to about it, because people often don't understand. I mean, you had a few times like, man, really? That's incredible, yeah? I mean,
right.
Another thing, there's no empathy, there's no emotion in the life of a narcissist. We had a dog for 15 years. That dog died on a Friday morning. We find her in her basket, and that was it. And it was a peaceful death, so that was all fine. But she had been with us for 15 years. I went to school that day. I came back at 2:00 that afternoon. And guess what? There was a new puppy in the house. Like, excuse me, I'm trying to process that our little Skippy is not around anymore. And already there was this new puppy. Yeah,
wow.
That's a demonstration of how they do not get in touch with feelings because they don't have them or they can't access them. Yeah. It's very hard, very hard. But so my mission is to help people to recognize what is going on for them. And then also, of course, to give them tools and techniques and process the hurt that comes with it. And help them to build their confidence and their belief in themselves again. And, become that victor, shake it all off, like doctor shaking it off. And, shake it off. Get a new path and sort of really start to build a life that is around you and not around your narcissist. There's another fascinating thing. If people are listening now or watching now and they think, would that person in my life be a narcissist? I'm asking you, how much of your emotional and mental energy do you spend on that person? And it's never healthy to spend 80 or 90% of your energy on somebody else. Oh. I don't know what the exact balance is, but I do know that if you are living your own life you are entitled to your energy more than that other person. So that's another indicator. If you're continuously looking and thinking about that other person. And why do you do that? Because you're unsafe in the presence of a narcissist. So you need to continuously check where they are, walking on eggshells, trying not to make a mistake that will spark them into anger or makes them punish you, or makes them really putting you down or doing something, just being nasty. So you safeguard yourself all the time, which means you can't be yourself, which means you're continuously looking outside. What are they up to? Can I say this? Can I say that? How do I keep myself safe?
Wow. There's 24 hours in a day, and you spend a majority of your day walking on eggshells. That is the most uneasy thing to do. You're neglecting yourself to ensure that the happiness with that other person is sustained, but it's coming at your detriment. That right there is something that, wow. And it's so funny that you said that, made that statement about, am I asking myself, am I dealing with a narcissist, or do I know a narcissist? Because as you were saying certain things, it was just really coming into my mind like, wow, have I come across this? Or if I have, and they're in my inner circle and they have a significant other in a relationship, then that's what they're dealing with. So I say that to ask this here, for those who feel like they can't break free from a narcissist, are there, can you reiterate those tips again that they can use so that way they can recognize that they're dealing with a narcissist and what they can do?
Yeah, because one moment, let me get my books out here as well. But
here we go.
the most important thing, you are the one, say as a victim, you are the one who decides if the other person is a narcissist or not. I mean, there are official checkpoints, it's the psychiatric diagnosis tools, but not most people don't say, oh, let's go to the doctor, let's see if I can get a diagnostic psychiatric tool, blah, 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 for this, that, and the other, especially not narcissists. So it's not about labeling them like that, but you are the one who can decide if this other person is an emotional abuser, if this other person is a narcissistic abuser. And one of the things that the red flags is, are you uneasy in the presence of this person? Do they make you feel uncomfortable? Do they put you down unnecessarily? Yeah, the sort of digging into you. Are you spending a lot of your time, your emotional and mental energy on that other person? If so, whatever label you give that other person, but this is not a healthy relationship. Are you walking on eggshells? It's those sort of things. Do you get a thank you whenever you've done something for that person? Because a narcissist is entitled to your time, your energy, your money, anything, everything. You are their toy. You are there for their benefit. So if you do something for a narcissist, do you get a thank you? Of course not. You have to thank them that you got the opportunity to do something for them. It's almost like the other way around. Yeah. But these are all signposts that you are dealing with a narcissist. The gaslighting, you say you've got a good recollection of an event and they totally deny it, or they say that you are mad and that you get it totally wrong. If that happens quite a few times, you are not the one who's mad. Believe me. And that's one of the things you can keep yourself safe, is by noting down, reporting events, in a little notebook, whatever it is. So you don't have to argue with your narcissist, but you go back to your notes and you think, you know what? I wasn't mad. I had it right. I have it here on paper and I recollected it right. So who were they to tell me of that?
Thank you so much for reiterating that, because, oh, wow, like the way that you are bringing the information, this is really eye-opening. And it also helps me as an individual be able to empathize with the victim, because, and also if they come into contact with me, then with what you have shared right there, I can say, hey, write this down here. Write down what you're experiencing. So that way you can understand that you're not losing your mind, because that emotional abuse that you're going through, I can only imagine. And I really feel for it. I really do.
And you know what, Ashton? I'm convinced everyone has at least one narcissist in their lives. It might be a family member, it might be in your circle of friends, it might be at work, it might be someone you just know through networking. I am convinced everyone has at least one. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that before I published my book. This is my book, From Victim to Victor. It was in June 2021. An avalanche of reactions, positive feedback. People were saying, now I understand what is going on in my life. I never got it. What you describe here is as if you were talking about me. This is me. And I attracted a lot of clients with these type of abuse in their lives. But then also I did a lot of talks, and I have a questionnaire, and people can click on a link, isn't it? It's a questionnaire. It's 10 questions, a little quiz. You take yourself through the quiz to see if the person you have in mind might be your narcissist. So it might be just your neighbor. You don't like that neighbor. There's something a bit sort of, but you see them regularly. Take yourself with that person in mind through the 10 questions and see what the outcome is. And if you have more than 7 yeses there, then this person that you're talking about is not a good person for you to be around. Say that, Jansen. So to say then that is a narcissist, that's very bold, and I don't want to be labeling like that, but bring it back to you and say, if someone makes me feel like that, why would you be around them? And it was eye-opening. So on my talks, and people go through that, say, I had a lady saying to me, oh my goodness, my mother-in-law is a narcissist. Now I understand. Wow. Other people saying, oh, this was my friend, my friend. Thank God we are not friends anymore, but I recognize this, that, and the other. And it's so subtle, and it's so easily to be sort of brushed away. Yeah, when you say, oh, that was really unpleasant of that person. If you're an empathic person, you say, but that's because they were stressed. Or I don't think they meant it like that.
Wow.
Yeah, so you don't give it, you don't look at it for what it actually is. You make it milder, and you think, and then you say to yourself, oh, that's fine. It's fine because they said something nasty because they're stressed. That's okay. It's never okay. And it's especially never okay if it happens on a regular basis. Because that's what narcissists do as well. It's not the occasional dig, it's continuous. It's a campaign. They're campaigning. They get their claws in someone, that's their victim. And they'll bite them to the bone. They make them crumble until nothing is left of them.
Wow. Break them down. Don't give them no way to build them back up. And you start making excuses for their behavior. Oh my goodness. People, I pray that you are really taking notes, and I pray that you are really, just taking all of this information in here, because wow, there are some people in your life that you might have a feeling of saying, geez, I really need to get them out of my life. I don't know why, but if this is what is crossing your mind here, these behavior patterns that you are definitely noticing, I'll advise you to definitely click that link, take the quiz, and so that way you can know what to do next and break free from them and just get them away from you so they protect yourself, And one thing that I remember when we spoke prior to this was you was talking about how a narcissist's brain looks, how it operates when with the lack of emotions and why it's like that. Can you share that with the listeners and viewers?
Fascinating, because that's where medical equipment comes in, really. MRI scans, which are multidimensional, and there they can sort of make a picture of the brain. They've made pictures of MRI scans of the brains of confirmed narcissists, and they lack a lobe in the prefrontal cortex, and in that lobe, that's the home of empathy and positive emotions. So that shows as well, if people have that brain impairment, that's just how they are. They will never change. Had I known, with a mother as I had I known this, then I would have given up that hope much earlier. I would have had a very different idea of the relationship. I would have a relationship with her, but one that was not based on equality, but more about me taking control of that situation and make it sort of happen and see her once a month or sort of be in touch, but not being so affected. Yeah. But if you deal with a narcissist and it's a real narcissist, and it's highly likely that something in their brain is missing, which then means if it's not there, it's never going to be there. There's no hope.
Wow. Wow. That's something right there. That really is. And I'm just sitting here just blown away at this information here, because I really think now is the perfect time for people to really sit and do some introspective thinking about not only just themselves, but the people around them. So that way, as people say, this is going to be a better year for me, or this is going to be a time where I break free in some aspect of my life, they can really take inventory of what they need to actually remove and do the necessary things that need to be removed, which allows for us to segue into this next part. Even though we have a couple of more minutes left within this interview, this allows for us to smoothly segue to your books, which also explains in literature your transition. Your first book entitled From Victim to Victor, and the second one, Rule Book of a Narcissist. The floor is yours, Dr. Mariette Jansen, to go ahead and talk about those two incredible books.
Okay. I started writing this book after my father died and my siblings were dead already. So it was just my mother and me who were left within the family. And I didn't have to protect anyone anymore because I felt protective of my father being with her, and I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize that. So a month after he died, I had my pen in my, that's not true, I kissed my keyboard. I didn't have a pen, I kissed my keyboard and sort of started doing it. And a year later, the book saw light. It's partly my story. It's explaining how romantic relationships with a narcissist unfold, and that if you grow up in a narcissistic environment, your definition of love is very distorted. So logically, I had some very mank romantic relationships with men who were like my mother, really. So I tried to repair the relationship with, in a different context. So in this book, it's all about recognizing the narcissist and recognizing how you are impacted by it, because that's more important than recognizing just the behavior and say, oh yeah, they have double standards. Yes, that's all good and well, but how does that impact you? If it infuriates you all the time, or if it means that you are, when you think you are doing the right thing, you're getting slapped and you're being treated badly, that's the most important thing. There are also some explanations here. There are at least 10 tools and techniques that you can apply to deal with a narcissist. But then this brings me here to the rule book. And what happened after the first book was out, and I had all these emails and phone calls and free coaching calls with people who wanted validation or who just wanted to sort of have a little chat, that wherever they are in the world, those narcissists, whatever their gender or their age, they just seem to behave all in the same way. They have got a rule book I thought, it's all the same rules. Why not put together a rule book? So 63 rules are in here. The rule of how they behave. And then next to that, on the next page, is what is a helpful response for you. So it's presented like this. Yeah, and it's almost, it's like a book you have on your toilet, or no, next to your bed. Say, you wake up in the morning and you think, okay, today, what is the rule that comes up? You don't even understand what you did wrong. That's what narcissists do. Yeah, they say, what? I'm upset. And you don't even understand why. And you think, God, no, I've got no idea. What have I done? And that's how they take possession of your brain again, because you start thinking, oh, I don't know, what did I do wrong? You go through everything that could have gone wrong. Yeah. The helpful response here then is, if you are questioning your own judgment, you're being gaslighted. Keep that in mind. If someone is saying to them, didn't you even know what you did wrong? And you think, I didn't do anything wrong as far as I know. So keep it like that. Stop there, because most likely you didn't do anything wrong. And if you did something really wrong, your narcissist can tell you. Yeah? Say you were late, or you didn't stick to the agreement, or whatever it is. But that's not what they did. They are just sort of poking you. Anyway, there are lots of rules in there. And that's for the people who can't escape the narcissist, who have to deal with them on a day-to-day basis, and have lots of ideas there on how to keep themselves safe and sane. Safe from the abuse, sane from themselves in their mind. You're not going mad. If someone tells you you're going mad and it doesn't feel like that, don't believe it.
That is powerful right there. Now, how can these people support you and purchase these books? Where can they buy them?
Amazon. Good old Amazon is everywhere in the world, isn't it? So it's one click. So if you Google my name, Dr. Mariette Jansen, both of the books come up. I've got also have a workbook. If you really want to work through the things, there's a workbook for each book available as well.
Oh, yes. And I will also be sharing that information as well on my platforms and social media. So that way people can definitely take advantage of what's out here, take advantage of the resources. So that way they can be liberated from the relationship with a narcissist. Now, if people would love to book a session with you, so that way they can have a chat and have somebody to talk to, how can they do that? And also you can explain how you also walk with those individuals step by step, so that they can see that they are not alone in this.
I offer a free coaching call. Sometimes people need some validation. Sometimes they just want to talk to me, or sometimes they are looking for ongoing support. But you need to talk to your coach or your counselor before you can agree to sort of work with someone. So you can go to my website, drdestress.co.uk. So DRDESTRESS and then .co.uk. And on the front page, you can click a button and see if there's availability for a coaching call. If people then decide to work with me, I'll help them step by step, baby step by baby step. But it's a very empowering process, because in the process of the abuse, you have been robbed of your power and your self-belief. And that's where the core is. That's how we work. And I understand what you're going through. I just totally get it. Maybe at this moment in time, possibly better than you get it. And that's my job, to share that and to facilitate that process for you as well, to sort of, have the confidence, spread your wings, go to the sun, find that life that you deserve to live.
That is amazing. And Dr. Jansen, I thank you for not holding on to that knowledge, but being willing to share that knowledge so everybody can be just like you and just happy and so vibrant and strong, and serve as a testimony of saying, hey, I got through this. You can get through this too. I know a lot of people's stories may not have ended, or, it just hasn't turned out as positive, but just seeing you it can just show that it is possible to come out better after going through that storm right there. So with that said, I thank you so much for being a guest here on the podcast. And one final question before we end it. Are there any words that you would like to leave the viewers and listeners? And I'm talking about words of encouragement just in general, as they go through this year, as they go through life in general, and they feel hopeless about a situation inside of their life. What are some words of encouragement that you would like to leave with them as we conclude this interview to empower them?
I believe, and I know, we all have it in us. We all have the power in us to break free from that what's not good and to become who we are meant to be. It's a journey. It's not meant to be that easy, maybe, and it's not about being difficult or easy. It's about doing it. And if you feel you're not living your true life, find a way to break free and really get there. And you can do it. Everyone can do it. Everyone can do it with the right support, with hard work, with blood, sweat and tears. But we all have that possibility. And there's not one truth. We all have our own truth. And that's the other thing, finding your own truth and living accordingly.
Wise words from such a wise woman. Dr. Jansen, this has been such an incredible interview. And thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. And to the viewers and listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in to the Be the Change podcast, because as you all know, we are wrapping up season 2 and moving on to season 3, which will be bigger and better. And I just want to go ahead and give you the heads up. This is not the last time that you will see Dr. Mariette Jansen, as there are some things that are in the works to ensure that as you go into this next year, this next phase of your life, you will overcome what it is that has served as an obstacle. You will overcome that because the time is now. So with that said, great people, thank you so much for tuning in. It's the homie, the one and only Ashton Reynolds, and we'll see you where we see you. God bless you all. I love you all. Have a blessed one, y'all. Thank you.
Great people, thank you for watching the Be the Change podcast. Now, if you would like to purchase Dr. Mariette Jansen's books, Rule Book of a Narcissist and From Victim to Victor, you can purchase them by going to Amazon.com. Get your copies today. Claim your victory today. And remember, before you make change, you must be the change that you would like to see. It's the homie, y'all. I love y'all. We out of here.